welcome back. What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. What's happening?
Uh, Not a whole lot. There's been a lot of stuff floating around, huh, since Biden dropped out on Sunday.
Yeah, it's been an eventful week.
Yeah.
I can't remember who I was talking to. Did I say it to you? I think I maybe joked with you about it, but I told somebody at work, I said, the only thing this election's meeting is a 2-6 missing is a 269 tie at this point. We've had an assassination attempt. We've now had someone drop out later than anyone's ever dropped out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody knows what the hell is going on with the funds that they can move. Like, they just moved them because by the time they rule, the election will be over.
Mm-hmm.
So they filed a complaint about that. No one knows like how some of the what happens. Like,
Uncharted territory.
yes, for just about everything. The Secret Service
That's
director resigned.
yeah.
Uh, I mean, it almost feels like, for a while way back when at work, we're like, dude, it can't get any crazier, and then it does,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody just stopped saying it because they didn't want to challenge
They
like
didn't want it to
fate.
fall. Yeah, they didn't want it
Yeah,
to go even more bonkers. It's a wild
yeah,
world we're living in right now, man. I mean, I don't even know where to start with this one. I mean, so much more stuff has come out about the assassination attempt.
yeah.
I mean, when we first started reporting things, we started talking about this kid was carrying a ladder. Now we find out that he doesn't have a ladder, that his rifle was staged on the roof behind an air conditioning unit, that
Wait, I didn't
he,
hear the part he didn't have a ladder.
yeah, so that ladder is being reported by the Secret Service that the ladder was there,
Was it
that
their ladder?
it was their ladder. It was
Hmm.
police that used the ladder. He scaled air conditioning units to get up on the roof, and he apparently left the rifle up there. Nobody saw him with this rifle coming up. The rifle was staged. I mean, there's so much and you don't know, like, who the hell knows what to believe, because like we've talked about repeatedly, like, until this investigation comes out and we finally see the real details of this thing, I don't know what the hell to believe at this point, you know?
Yeah, and it's what investigation, right? Like,
Right. Who's conducting it? Secret Service?
the biggest. Well, I think there's 4 or 5 going on now,
Yeah, there's some
right? With the
IGs.
there's the congressional, the congressional one.
Mm-hmm.
That obviously I would imagine both chambers do one.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, then there's the IG for both DHS and DOJ, I believe, are doing one.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the FBI one that there'll be some information about the security lapses just on what they establish as what actually happened,
Right.
right? Like you'll be able to piece some of that stuff together. And then you have the Secret Service internal one, which
Right.
I I don't know, maybe now that she's resigned, maybe you can believe that one a little more because they're just going to hang her out to dry to
Yeah,
try
it's
to
definitely
save face.
that's how I mean, anything in the government works that way, right? If there's
Right.
somebody to blame, it's the head of the snake is taking it,
Right.
and it saves the agency by just,
What
completely tar
what
and
mo
feathering somebody else.
what movie was it? Was it Traffic that the secretary position, like the guy got removed and he told the new guy, write 2 letters. The first letter you blame on your predecessor. The second
Predecessor
letter
is
is
your
your
resignation.
resignation.
Yeah.
Yeah, resignation. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's true. I
That's
mean,
exactly what it is. So now the next
that's
guy comes in, he cleans it, he's gonna make it look like this report is great. Like, hey, we're self-critical and it's all gonna be about Cheeto,
right.
right? And that not anybody that was there. Like, I'm sure the new director is gonna be somebody internal for now.
Of course. Yeah, there's an interim until Trump or Harris can appoint somebody, whoever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I, you know, I think what gets me about this whole thing is I don't know that there's this big vast conspiracy, uh, but we're starting to see a lot of things that don't make much sense, right? Like, this building is outside the protected area that they designated the perimeter. We're finding out that there was not enough Secret Service agents on the ground.
Yeah.
Um, from what I'm hearing now, listening to several others, like listening to Bongino, he made the comment that there was three Secret Service agents, and I people are taking that and just blowing up with what that is, what he's talking about. And there was HSI agents, there was contractors. This we know from the congressional hearing. There's
Mhm.
HSI agents, there's contractors, there's law enforcement, and there's Secret Service. But that Secret Service footprint was bigger than three people. He's talking about the protective detail.
But
And
isn't
I
that still an issue?
No,
Like
absolutely.
the only three people for the protective detail.
And when you look at that protective detail, one of them was the DEI hire that couldn't
Yeah,
put her pistol away, that couldn't pass their stress fire. That's a bigger issue, right?
right.
And that's absolutely, I mean, that is done by design because remember we found out early that Trump's original detail got pulled and they replaced them with what he has now. So
Mhm.
Trump plussed up, and we said it right at the beginning that maybe the guys that jumped on him weren't Secret Service, maybe they were his paid contract
Contract.
security
Yeah.
force. And I bet you we're going to find down the road that there's a lot of merit to that. That one of them will be a contractor, one of them's going to be a Secret Service agent, and then the other
Yeah.
two came out. But just to put some of the rumors to bed, there was more than three Secret Service agents there. We had the counter sniper team, that's two guys up on the roof. You saw the counter assault guys come out on the stage. There's two, that's four, right? There's two
But
guys
didn't they
there.
say there were four teams, counter assault teams, right? And but two or three of them were local.
From what I hear, from what Bongino has said, there was one Secret Service counter sniper team, one local counter sniper team.
Okay.
That and the three shots where people said they heard three distinguished or three different reports of gunfire. One was from the kid, one was from the Secret Service agent who ended the kid, and one was from the law enforcement sniper team that missed. They didn't hit the kid, they missed. Um,
Sure, which we kind of hit that right away. Like this is going to come out that it was the three different sounding rounds or
right.
shots
And
were
that's
going to
where
be
people,
from the one distinct group from the shooter, and
yep,
the other ones were from the two different groups that were going to be engaged.
return fire, right?
Right, correct.
So that's your that should clear up our third gunman.
Yeah, second gunman. Dude,
Yeah,
don't jump to
second gunman.
three. Don't jump to three.
Sorry, I'm taking it. I'm taking it too far. There's three gunmen on the
I don't
grassy
think we
knoll.
can handle three right now.
No, we cannot. But that's the three shooters, right? So that was reported by Bongino with his inside
Yeah,
information. But
yeah,
then people took that because he had said that there's three Secret Service agents, and they just took it as total. I mean, you just had to do the math right off the bat. You saw
right.
four in black uniforms, two on stage with Trump and two on the roof. Those were Secret Service. Then you saw all those guys in the black uniform of the Secret Service police uniform that were trying to get through the fence that couldn't
Right.
because they were trying to respond right to the shooter's location and they
Yep.
couldn't because of the piss poor planning.
Yep. And that
So
video of the snipers engaging, those the ones in the black were Secret Service.
that was the Secret
That
Service
was a
snipers on
Secret
the roof.
Service team. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the counter sniper team that we're talking about. And then on the other side, people don't realize this, but there's Secret Service agents on the ground that aren't on the protective detail. They just sit posts. They stand posts. So
Yeah.
they have post orders that tell them what they can and can't do. They sign into the sheets and they sit there and they basically control a checkpoint or an overwatch position. And
Sure.
that's their job, right? So
Hmm.
those guys were there too. But to have three Secret Service agents on a protective detail that should normally, I mean, when you look in terms of President Biden, if he's driving in his motorcade, how many vehicles do you see in his motorcade? Five, six, eight
Oh, dude,
sometimes,
it's there's way more than that.
right? I
There's
mean,
usually there's usually two limos,
right. And you
right?
you don't know which one he's in because there's two limos that are pretty much
Right.
identical, right?
Yep.
One's the beast that he rides in,
Well, I mean, they're both the same. But
right?
one is the beast that he's actually like Air Force One,
Right. And
right? Like it's just Air Force One because he's in it.
he's in it. And then they usually have two Suburbans in front, which I'll kick this to a military when we're pulling a security detail. What we would do is we would put the principal, the protectee, would go in the middle vehicle, right? So if we have six vehicles, his is the seventh vehicle, he's in the middle. We would have an
Mhm.
Advon vehicle rolling in front, which they do with a Suburban or some sort of law enforcement vehicle rolling in front. And they're basically reconning the route as they go, right? They're there to absorb anything that initially happens.
Yeah.
The next two vehicles of ours are basically your assault team and your protective team. So
Mhm.
your assault team basically is going to threat and fighting threat, and your protective team collapses back on your principal, right? Collapses back on your protected detail, and then you have the same three vehicles behind him, which the last vehicle is basically your it's going to absorb any contact from behind, right? If somebody's coming up to try to attack you from the rear. And then you've got your assault team and then you've got your protective team. Plus, in the vehicle with him, he's got at least two agents with him or two protective detail with him already,
What?
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're a mobility kill, you get that principal out of the vehicle. If you're say you get hit by an IED or he gets hit by an RPG traveling somewhere or whatever it might be. They kill the beast. They would get him out of the vehicle. They would rush him to one of the other vehicles and they would take off. That's what they would do. Right.
Right.
Um, but how many, I mean, just do the math on that. Those Suburbans could have 4 or 5 guys. Those assault teams have pop out tailgates with automatic weapons in the back, like machine guns in the back.
Yep.
So, I mean, you've got like 5 plus in every vehicle on his security detail. Right. So, I mean, what did Trump have? 3?
3.
3. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge disparity between the two. So that obviously Kim Cheadle had a ton to answer for that, and you could kind of pick up on it when you're watching the hearings. She was not going to give any information, but when the senator
No.
came out, and I don't remember who it was, but one of them came out and said, "So we know there was contractors, we know there was law enforcement, we know there was Secret Service, and we know there was HSI, but we're hearing that you denied resources." And she said, "Well, she wasn't aware of it," or whatever her response was.
Yeah.
And Mayorkas's response a couple days in advance was, "That's categorically false." Well,
Yeah.
now you're screwed. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're so bad at this cover up bullshit that you're trying, you
Mhm.
don't even talk to each other.
Well, I told you. Did I say it on the podcast? There's no way she survives the hearing. Like she wasn't there. There's no way. With everyone was all over her. Even AOC.
Yeah,
She saw the light for about 10 minutes.
I think you said it at work, but yeah, there's no way. I mean,
Yeah.
uh
It was just too much. She's either going to have to take the fall, or she's going to have to dime the people out that were the ones that did all this shit with the protection.
right,
Right?
and
Like
that's not
denied the protection, told them, hey, you can't have what you normally get as a former president,
right.
all that. Like,
And
I'm
that's
not
not
even
allowable.
talking like, yeah, I'm not even talking about like this instant, right? Like this incident, like nothing about the assassination, just everything that he was denied way before all this.
Hmm. And what was the merit of not so
Right. Well,
you
what was the
denied
merit of
him.
not giving it to Kennedy?
Right. So then she claimed it was a resource issue. Well, they do have a recruiting problem in the Secret Service.
Mm-hmm.
And she was asked specifically about that. And she was kind of true in her response. It's a 24-hour-a-day job. It's nights, it's weekends, it's holidays. And when you sign up for it, you're really kind of just, you're beaten and battered as an agent until you can get up to the places you want to be because they have a lot of work to do. Well, if their numbers are low, you got to increase those numbers. But she was doing that with DEI hires. So if they're going the same way the military is going, which now we see the military recruitment numbers are the lowest they've ever been,
Yeah.
and you're seeing the recruitment is failing in the Secret Service because of all this DEI crap and all this stuff. Where, this is what happens, unfortunately, when you teach your kids that being masculine is toxic. It's toxic
Mhm.
unless you're a DEI hire, you're a female who's a feminist. Then being masculine is wonderful because you're equal to your male counterpart
Yeah, you're
until
a
you actually
badass.
until you get in a firefight until somebody starts shooting and then you cower on a stage.
You duck
And
behind the protectee.
right. Then that's not me trying to be an ass. That's just me telling you what I saw, you know, on that stage in the videos, right? So
Well, I think that the difference, to clarify, for not to put words in your mouth, but that goes for guys too that can't pass the fucking test.
100
If you
percent.
can't qualify, get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it before. I've served with women who are complete badasses, and I've served with women that had no reason ever being, put on a road in the middle of a combat zone. That's I've told some stories in the past about responding to, medics that were hit with IEDs and they had women in their group, and it didn't go well, right? You've seen a lot of these stories of the same thing, even up to the invasion when I can't remember, was it Lynch? Jessica Lynch was taken prisoner, and you find out that a lot of the people in their convoy didn't even fight back, had their rifles not even near them, right? Like some of these things, and that's guys included. Some of these things, it's not just a gender barrier. It's a training issue, and it's if you're not in one of those places where you're being forced or being trained along to be as good as you should be, it's going to be an issue. And that sounds like something the Secret Service is handling or has happening right now, right? And
Yeah.
the DEI hire is just the icing on the cake. When you pass somebody through and you waiver them through who can't do the job, well, what do you think is going to happen when they get there? They already have that in the back of their head that, oh, I couldn't pass this on this course. You wavered me through. When the real thing happens, are they going to Are they going to show up and act like they're a badass, or are they going to do exactly what they did on that stress fire? And that's what you saw there. And you're right. It's guys too. It's not just women, but I mean, this DEI hiring and this killing of toxic masculinity is what's killing our recruitment numbers in both the military and the Secret Service and subsequently now in law enforcement because of this whole push on, cops are bad and all that crap. And we're seeing it countrywide.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you want to say like I think it hit fever pitch with George Floyd, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a while before that.
Well,
Like
it was Obama for sure. I mean, Trayvon
yeah.
Martin,
Well,
Mike
Trayvon, yeah, when
Brown,
he came out and said if I had a kid, he'd look like Trayvon. Like
right.
all you're trying to do there is fan the flames.
Well, that's so I have a firm belief that Obama, because Obama has openly stated multiple times that he was, 10 to 12 years ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
because
he's
of
the
some of the
wrong generation.
wrong generation, right? He was just not he went in too soon, is what his thought process was. But I honestly believe Obama was one of the smoothest talking, slyest, debonair,
Yep.
uh, funny. He was funny.
Hmm.
He handled crowds really well. He could work the crowd, and he was one of those guys that people kind of just you talk to him, you're like, man, this guy's cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His policies were terrible, and what he was trying to do to this country was borderline treasonous when you look at how he cut us up into groups. I mean, and that's what he did, right? He
Hmm.
was trying to isolate sections of the middle and the right so that they felt bad enough to pull to the middle or to the left. And then he tried to strengthen the base of the far left and move them even farther left so they could get things through that matched the Davos group agenda or the World Economic Forum agenda, the woke ideology that has now taken the world by storm. He was the beginning of it. He was the very beginning of it. And it started with the anti-cop bullshit that he pulled, and it started with the push for gay marriage. And you and I have agreed we're not against gay marriage. Like I don't care. Uh
Yeah.
love who you love. I don't that's on you. That's not on me. Um but it was that push that he started and it moved that whole thing. I don't know, it's just like I think you said it, you give them an inch and they take a mile, right? And somebody, I don't remember who it was that we were watching a video of, had said that they knew as soon as the gay marriage thing was settled that the next thing that was going to happen was this trans movement was going to explode, and it was the LGBT community was, the gay and lesbian community was going to be hijacked by this secondary movement that was within
Hmm.
the same cloud, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now, and that
Yeah.
was Obama. Obama started that, and then Joe Biden came in, and he was just like, I mean, now you're seeing Obama, 7.0 with Joe Biden. Joe Biden's moved everything farther left than I think anybody could ever have imagined.
Yeah. I for sure think that at least the people that I've talked to about it, way more than what they thought. Obviously, like they thought he was going to be more towards the middle, and so they voted for him.
Yep.
And you know, that's just not even close. Like it's not even close. Like I don't.
No. And I mean, what we saw with the Biden administration was when he went into the office, he was in cognitive decline even when he was running against Trump. That's why they kept him in the basement, right? That's why
Yeah,
he
well,
didn't
they had that.
campaign.
Yeah, they had the excuse, and they were able to. Right? They just blamed the
Right.
pandemic, and
Right.
everybody believed it.
Right.
Yeah,
And they
this
just
time was going to be a lot harder.
right. And they hit him away. And I mean, he's been an empty vessel since he's been in office, and he's been filled up by the people who picked his cabinet for him picked the who's who of the far left, man. I mean, they have all these people who are actively destroying this country, and it's unbelievable to see him step down now. I mean, just think about that for a second. He comes out on, was it Sunday or Monday, and says there's no way he's stepping down. He's in this to fight, or maybe it was right before the assassination attempt. Maybe it was Saturday or Friday he did that before the attempt, and he's not
Well,
going to
he
back
said it.
out.
He said it on Saturday before he stepped down this last week.
Yep. And then he came out and said there's powerful forces trying to force him out of the race, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it was like 2 days later, he puts out an X and thanks America, the American voters, for allowing him to be the president, and he says he's stepping down. That's a coup.
Hmm.
I mean, he's telling you all along the way that that's a coup that is taking place. And this is the party that's supposed to be fighting the guy who's trying to kill democracy.
Yeah.
They just staged their own coup to
Yeah.
get rid of a candidate that they put in office knowing that he was on the cognitive decline, kept him in the basement and blamed COVID for it while Trump is out there campaigning. They kept him in the basement and only had him go to certain events. I mean, they limited the debates between Trump and Biden the first time around just for that same reason.
Hmm.
And then there's all the election stuff where, like we talked about, we've had the election interference stuff out there for a while. Something wasn't right about that election. There's no way that that was right. I'm not saying it was super fraudulent, but there was something going on with that election that we have yet to find out because people didn't want to take up the mantle of finding out. And that goes back to the J6 bullshit where the protesters went and rioted, and we have what they call now the insurrection, right? So like,
Yeah. Well, hold on. I'm going to interrupt you. Have you seen what's going on today?
no, what?
Netanyahu's speaking at Capitol Hill. So what's happening? Capitol Police just tweeted out they're starting to break down the police barriers at this road and Constitution Avenue, and they're using pepper spray. So are they going to come out and say this is
No,
going to be an insurrection?
they'll
No,
never do that.
they're not.
It's never
They're
going to
not.
happen.
Well, you live
Uh,
in a state that it happened to you
yeah,
with the teachers union. For
yes,
days, for weeks, they sat in there.
yep. And when it's the left doing it and it's the benefit of
It's
the
fine.
left, it's
Yeah, it's
fine.
fine.
When it's somebody on the right and it's here's the and everybody that'll ever listen to us will know this. Donald Trump was the wrecking ball to the establishment, right?
Yeah.
So that's really why it was a big deal. And the other
Yes.
side of the coin, the big deal was it's the closest the elitist establishment of Washington, the people who are in power to provide themselves with wealth and power and um stroking their fragile little egos. It was the first time they ever felt
Mhm.
like they were in danger,
Yeah, they
right?
were scared. They were scared.
Think about how many intel briefings they've sat in where they've been nation building and they've torn down political leaders themselves and sent in our
Mhm.
military or sent in paid to have military coups and governments overthrown. Think of how many of those briefings they've had that they've been a part of, and now for the first time ever they're like, oh shit, it could be us.
Yeah.
um they're not innocent, and so that scared them. And the one thing that tyrants want more than anything is to hold power, right? And so are they all tyrants? No, not all of them, but are they corrupt? Oh yeah. You and I have talked about it. I mean, they're using insider trading to get wealthy. They're backdooring
Mhm.
themselves money through contracts like, hey, I'm going to send 200 and something million to you and you're going to give me a $65 million book deal afterwards, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how this goes in Washington, right? It's
Hmm.
all pay for play. And when Trump came in there and he started gaining power, that was a serious threat to all of them. I mean, there's some, what is it, Mendez right now going down for uh
Yeah. He's going to resign next month, he said.
next
What?
month on the
No,
August
no. You
20th.
resign now.
Right. But I mean, this is what I think you're gonna find a lot more of this out. There's a lot of people that are repping for foreign countries as
Yeah.
non that they're basically lobbying for foreign countries because they're getting money and kickbacks from foreign countries, and it's illegal. But they're
Hmm.
not gonna. You can't register as a foreign agent if you're a senator or a congressman. You know what I mean? You're not supposed to
Hmm.
be. You don't belong to that country. You're not supposed to get money from that country. Like,
Right.
the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
So this is what Washington is and what it's become, and that's why it's okay for the left because the left knows that they have a significant portion of the right that's part of the uniparty, right? So I mean, it's all about keeping power and staying in the establishment and enriching yourself.
Hang on, bud. I got
Yep.
one that's gone loose.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. She's coming around the corner. Hey.
Sounds good.
All right. Sorry, boss.
That's awesome. That is the uniparty, right? That's how the uniparty rolls. And to go along with that, what I guess now we have Kamala. She's got the what a segue, talking about uniparty, talking about this disgusting version of corrupt Washington that we have. We have Kamala now, who's apparently won enough delegates to run against Trump, right? So
Yeah.
she is their nominee. And we've talked about it. We kind of saw this coming because how do you go away from the DEI hire? You know what I mean? You've
Yeah.
pushed so far to the left. How do you explain that to the people that you
Well, honestly, like if it happens from the delegates, right? Or if it
Mhm.
happens in a primary, there's nothing you have to explain. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so when I thought when I had talked about it, I was like, yeah, I'm not sure if they do an open primary, fucking anything could happen.
It should have been an open primary. Did you
It,
see that BLM now is calling for
yes. Yeah, I
uh,
was gonna
uh
bring that up.
spontaneous virtual primary because they don't trust it. They don't like her. They know
They
what
don't
she's done.
yeah, they don't like anything. Well, I mean, they
So
don't like anything about her.
no.
Um, and and it's how Tulsi ended her campaign.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Like,
just telling the truth about her.
and honestly, that's just for that fact is one of the biggest reasons I wanted Tulsi on the ticket.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other reasons, but she absolutely crushed Kamala before.
Oh, there is no doubt Tulsi's somewhere in Trump's administration
Yeah. Well, she's going to be out there all over the place.
destroying Kamala.
Yeah, just going after Kamala.
Yeah.
Like she's going to start opening at some of these rallies, which, it, I saw something online about, not to jump around all over the place, but, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, but that they don't want him doing outdoor rallies anymore.
Yeah, he's committed now to just doing indoor rallies. Well, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
I mean, when you
Anyway.
know, yeah. I mean, when you've gone through what he's gone through and you know
Yeah.
that they're gunning for you and allowing somebody to gun for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that he'd still do outdoor rallies just to be like, you can't get me. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because now they're gonna have everything out for it because they can't allow it to happen again.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. You just see that massive footprint.
you're
You
just gonna,
actually
yeah, you're gonna see military, you're gonna see everybody.
you'd see what it's supposed to look like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So going back to the corruption level,
Mm-hmm.
this is what corruption looks like, right? This is reported by the Free Beacon. The Chinese billionaire and auto industry magnate Li Shufu is a senior Chinese Communist Party member.
Mm-hmm.
He's explicitly devoted his entire career to spreading Chinese influence worldwide. That's like what he does, right?
Yeah.
Uh, According to data that Washington Free Beacon got to review, he's also set to personally benefit from the Biden-Harris administration's latest taxpayer-funded initiative to boost electric vehicle manufacturing.
Oh
How?
yeah.
Well, they gave him $208.2 million to
Mm-hmm.
boost electric vehicle manufacturing.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like when you're owned and operated by a foreign country. We just talked about lobbying for foreign assets, right? I mean, it's the backdoor way to lobby for China is
Mm-hmm.
to have a CCP guy out there lives in a different country still lobbying for China and you give him a bunch of money and eventually like Obama that money comes back to you in some kind of deal, some kind of something, right?
Yeah.
And so everything is so corrupt with this group, whether it's Biden or Harris. And here's the thing, right? Joe Biden is Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is Joe Biden. And what I mean by that is how disingenuous are you? How corrupt are you? How ridiculous are you? If you're Kamala Harris, you've been around Biden the entire time, right?
Yeah.
You know where he's at cognitively. You know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're,
No, there's definitely something to be said about that for sure.
and you're not doing anything about it. And the
No.
Democrat Party, Chuck Schumer, you know it.
Mm-hmm. They all did.
Nancy Pelosi, you know it. This
Yeah.
isn't a surprise to you. You've seen this and you've done nothing about it. You've accepted that it's okay in the interest of your party and in the interest of you maintaining power, retaining power, that it is okay to go ahead and let a guy who's a potato continue to pretend to be the president of the United States while somebody else, not elected by the people of this country,
Mm-hmm.
pulls the strings and makes the decisions,
Yeah.
writes the speeches and does all that. So That's a huge, huge, huge problem. That just shows it reeks of the level of deception and corruption. There is no transparency in this group. There's not going to be with Biden, and there damn sure won't be with Kamala because one thing that has followed Kamala everywhere she goes, corruption. That's where
Hmm.
I mean that's what you see with her.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say this too, like she had that interview where she was talking on the phone to Joe Biden. Did you catch this?
I was only able to listen to a little bit of it.
Did you catch her screw up right at the beginning of the clip that's out there?
Oh yeah, the recording.
Yes.
Yeah.
I I I want to play that because I
Do
do
you have
think
it?
that I have it.
Okay.
I do think that Kamala Harris was telling the truth here because this is what happens when you're put in a situation and you just, it's that slip of the tongue, to say the quiet part out loud. She wasn't talking to Joe Biden. This is a pre-recorded thing that Joe Biden did from wherever
Hmm.
he was, and Kamala knows the questions to ask, and they're playing the audio in return.
Yeah.
And it's so fake and so disingenuous. But to set this clip up, it's Kamala talking about how much her family loves the Bidens, Joe and Jill. And right at the beginning, she says, "Joe, I know you're on the call still," but she almost says the truth, which is the recording,
Hmm.
and she sounds like an idiot. So I'm gonna play it.
It's so good to hear our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call,
Did you hear it?
and we've been
Hmm.
talking every day. You
One
guys
more
are
time.
It's so good to hear our president's voice. Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking.
That just it
Yeah.
shows you how disingenuous this group is. Like, oops, I let it slip that it's a recording that we're putting
Hmm.
it out there for the media. Joe is somewhere hidden away. We all know the conspiracy out there. We've heard it. We've seen it all over X. Like, oh, he's dead. Blah 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 blah. Do I
Yeah.
think that? No, I don't. I don't think
Well,
that. Do I think?
they do have a picture of him coming back to the White House yesterday.
Yeah.
So
And if you're allowing, why not dispel all the rumors? Why not wait until he comes back? Why not have them sit down together? But
mhm.
the answer is you can't because he's a freaking potato.
Yeah, you can't trust that he's not going to
Anything
freeze again.
that you can't trust that he'll even remember that he
Right.
stepped down.
So even though people are going to take it that he's dead or whatever, uh, I don't think that was the reason of the recording. I think it was just simply so that
Yes.
there's no way Kamala could handle both now becoming president and starting a campaign and being able to campaign for 4 months and do all the shit that they've got to do. There's no
Right.
way she could handle that
No, absolutely not. And she's not. Let's be
because they're
honest.
not her people. They're his
They're
people.
not. They're his people. And let's be honest. She's a box of rocks to begin with. He was the
Yeah.
potato. She's the box of rocks that the potato came in.
Mhm.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Do
But
potatoes come in boxes of rocks?
in that cut box of rocks, they do.
Yeah.
So that is
Sorry.
no, I'm gonna
Just
giggle.
every once in a while you say something. I'm like,
I'm gonna
where
giggle
do you
about
get
that
your
now.
stuff?
I'm gonna giggle about that now for probably the next 5 minutes.
I've never bought a potato that came with rocks.
Yeah, they
Just
come in
other
that box.
potatoes.
Yeah, there's been a lot of potatoes that have come in that box of rocks for a while. So,
Yeah, all right. Oh,
uh, oops.
phrasing.
Phrasing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you look at this crap, like it's just disingenuous, and we always talk about this, and the media just covers down for him, right? I mean, there's no questions asked. We know exactly why they did the recording. They did it because he probably doesn't even remember from day to day if he stepped down or not. He probably today thinks he's the president that's still running a campaign,
Yeah, who knows,
right?
man? If they got to tell him every day.
Yeah, you have to remind him every
It's
single
like
day. Or,
what was that movie? 51st Dates?
yeah, where
Where she's gotta wake
yeah,
up and play the videotape of what happened.
right.
Yeah.
And that it's sad, but that's the reality he lives in. And
Hmm.
I I don't know. Like we know that Kamala is not error free. We know that she's not corruption free. She's every bit as bad as Joe. And I pulled up this Breitbart article, and it's 17 things. It's just 17 things to prove that Harris is
Oh,
far far left.
I saw this. I didn't get into it yet.
So she co-sponsored the legislation to protect illegal immigrants from deportation. That was
Hmm.
her.
Yep.
This is also the border czar. She backed Bernie Sanders' Medicare for all legislation. That was a terrible piece of legislation. She backed banning private health insurance companies, right? Because why would you, need private health insurance if we're going to give you free health insurance and we're going to make money off of that. So why do you get to have your own private health insurance? We're going to ban that. She supported giving taxpayer funded coverage to illegal immigrants. Well, that's great. You're not here illegally. You're not a U.S. citizen, but taxpayers are going to pay for you, even though you're not paying your way because you're probably on cash jobs. We're going to give you taxpayer funds for your coverage. She supported banning fracking, which really killed our oil boom that was coming back under Trump. She compared ICE to the KKK. You remember that?
Yep.
That was during when they said that those two agents were whipping somebody with the reins of their. It was a modern day whipping. No, they were just using their reins to get them away from the horse. That was ridiculous. She went on to want to ban plastic straws. She then defended banning offshore drilling. Right, that's the other side of killing the gas initiative that they started. She went on to help Joe draft all of the executive orders that undid everything that Trump had on border security. 94 executive actions in the first 100 days to completely rescind nearly every Trump era measure on border security.
Yeah.
They did that, right? And that's the border czar doing that with Joe Biden.
Well, hold on a second. Axios says that she was never actually the border czar. Did you see that?
Oh, okay.
Did you see that article?
Yeah, she called herself.
Only
the border
problem
czar.
is she wasn't the border. Yeah, no, they literally have it in the article that Biden appointed her as the border czar.
Right.
But then said, well, it's not that simple. He never actually there's not a crown for that, right? Like she doesn't wear a crown around. Like, I'm the border czar. Yeah, it's gross.
Axios is filled with morons.
Well, they're all starting to double down or just hide everything for.
They have to.
Yeah.
And this is what it's going to be. Anybody who comes out against her is going to be a racist or, I mean, we talked about it, and I thoroughly believe she ticks off your DEI requirements, and she's just missing the fact that she's not part of the LGBTQ community. That's why I think Buttigieg will be picked as her running mate. The tech ticks off every box that the far left wants. It's just, she'll be the first black woman president. He'll be the first openly gay vice president. And then, oh my God, look at what we have. It's a DEI, wet dream is what's coming. So that's where that's where I think it's going.
Yeah.
But moving on.
I don't think you're wrong.
She supported decriminalization of illegal border crossings. So, that's not a crime if you cross our border illegally anymore. That's what she wants. She said she wouldn't treat illegal aliens as criminals. That goes along with decriminalizing illegal crossings. She called for ICE to restart. They wanted to start from scratch with ICE, kill the whole system, start from scratch, and build it with the foundation of it's not illegal to cross our border. So you don't have a border then. What do you need ICE for?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So going back to HSI's, the Homeland Security investigation, they kind of took over for ICE when everybody started going after ICE. It's like, okay, yeah, we can get rid of them because HSI took over all their investigations.
Yeah, how's that for us?
Well, it's not, but it was something that was done so that could quickly say, yeah, we got rid of ICE. Well, now we have HSI that's doing it.
Right. Nothing gets better.
No.
She argued that temporarily closing the border violates federal law. Temporarily closing the border for illegal immigrants and immigrants to come in it violates federal law. Like, are you? She raised money for the Minnesota Freedom Fund. That's that far left organization that was bailing people out after all the violent, criminal acts and rioting and
the riots,
and looting.
They burnt down a bank. They burnt down a post office.
Yep.
They burnt down the 3rd precinct.
Yep. She supported Los Angeles's cuts to their police department, right? And she called for efforts to add more police to the streets. She said that anything to add more police to the streets is wrong-headed thinking, and she supported defunding police. So this is who you have, right? On one hand, you look at who she was as an attorney, a state's attorney general, or whatever it was that she was, where she put tons of people. I think it was a district attorney, right? DA's office. She put more black people in prison, kept more people in prison for their full terms than anyone before her. She lied constantly, only got where she got because of Willie Brown and her relationship with Willie Brown, right?
What was that relationship?
Well, I think you have an idea of what
I just wanted to see if you'd say it.
I think you have an idea of what that relationship entailed.
She had an affair with him. We'll put it that way.
She's a box of rocks, right? And he's a potato.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's how this started. And it went on and on and on. I mean, she became an attorney general by 0.8% of a vote. Like she
Yeah,
barely,
yeah, like everybody, I think I was telling you that, like, I saw that everyone else had won the election by double digits because it's California.
right.
And so the Democrat always wins by double digits. She won by 0.8%.
Yeah, she's just not likable. She comes across as the DEI requirement of Hillary. I mean, they're the same person. If Kamala had the track record that Hillary has, it's the same person, right? Um, the country isn't if you're on the left now that Biden's out and you were upset because Biden was uh running for president, you're like, oh, he just can't cognitively, he can't do it. I mean,
Hmm.
this is the same person that came out right off the bat and said Jussie Smollett was a modern day lynching. Remember
Yeah.
that when she came out and
Yep.
said that,
Yep.
and then we've no retraction when she finds out that Jussie Smollett's modern day full of shit and made the stuff up by himself, and that he hired two Nigerian dudes to beat him up and pour bleach on him. Modern day, a modern day lynching. She never retracted that and said, well, he's disturbed or whatever it might be. Nope, nope. She doubled down. That's what Kamala does.
Hmm.
There's more to the story that we have to find out, that kind of crap. So this is to say that if you're on the left that you're in any kind of better situation because the potatoes now stepping down and you're championing the box of rocks, uh we are going to be worse off. I believe right after Biden got into office, uh Putin was on the border, or Russia was on the border of Ukraine. They sent over Kamala Harris to give a strong message to Putin in a conversation in talks with the Russian government to on UN soil, right?
Hmm.
Uh sh- she threatened him. 24 hours later, he went into Ukraine. This lady is too stupid to even understand who you're talking to. If you're going to go in and threaten Putin, like he's an ex-KGB agent, what are you doing trying to play tough guy?
Yeah.
You're a
Yeah.
you're a box of rocks. You're a
Yeah.
DEI
Yeah.
required hire. Biden said he was going to make his vice president a black female. Legit, the definition of DEI. You're a DEI hire yourself. You are the Secret Service agent that can't perform their job, that ducks down behind the protectee when the shit actually starts hitting the fan. That's you. That's Kamala. So if you're on the left and you think that this chick is your guy, this chick is your knight in shining armor that's going to save the day, you are going to lead us into World War III. If you elect this lady, you are leading us into World War III.
Yeah.
You are going to kill our country. She is a box of rocks that has latched onto every potato she could possibly latch onto to get where she is. And she has no reason being anywhere, not even in the same zip code as anyone who has power like the nuclear football or power to wage war or power to use executive orders to enact certain policies. This is not the person we want. She is 10 times worse than Biden when it comes to having a little bit of trouble with the touch of the powers.
Hmm.
You and I have had people who we've worked with who've been above us, who've been peers, that when they get that little bit of power, they fricking just go ape shit. They get crazy with it, right?
Yeah.
This is who she is. And oh, God save us if she reaches the Oval Office. If she defeats Trump and she gets into the Oval Office, we are absolutely fucked. Like thunder fucked.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thought.
It is a scary thought. And I was just trying to find, I saw a tweet earlier about people praising a commercial I was done for who's the guy running? Oh, McCormick versus Casey for Senate seat in Pennsylvania. So I'm sorry, I was trying to find that. But yeah, you're right. Like just like I struggle. Like so I've been trying to look up stuff on both Vance and Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
It's impossible to find anything that she's actually done.
Well, yeah,
Right? What has she done? What is,
exactly.
like I can find her. We know what her record was as an attorney general. That's
Mhm.
easy.
Right.
Where is she on policy stuff?
Well,
Like all you can get is what was done in the administration. She hasn't really. She just voted party line in the. She never really did anything on her own in the Senate.
you can't find it with Kamala because she's an expert at licking her finger and playing the political wins.
Yeah, that's all. That's what I
She's-
mean. Like she just voted party lines.
She's disingenuous. She's full of shit. She's a cackling hen that is just, you can see. We talked about this, and I said yesterday I was going to dime him out on this. If you are a politician that's fake, you appear fake, you don't belong there, right? And we just said this. You brought up the picture of Matt Gaetz from the RNC where he looks like he fucking got caught in a hurricane, category 12 hurricane, and his face got peeled back. And I'm being kind. Like,
Yeah, dude,
If you're-
it's way worse than that.
if you are putting on makeup, if you're Mitt Romney and you're waking up in the morning and you have somebody doing your makeup so that you can look like a politician, I don't want you in Washington. Right. And that's Kamala. Kamala is that way. Like every female puts on makeup, right? But Kamala's makeup is also makeup to cover up her soul, her spirit, her everything. I mean, it's the whole thing that she puts on. She is a pantsuit wearing, power hungry, warmongering. She's every bit as DEI as she is Warhawk, and she's disgusting in that regard. You can't trust a word that comes out of her mouth. You can't. We saw the interview where she was talking about, listening to Biggie and smoking weed. Biggie wasn't even a thing when she was talking about being in college.
When she was in college.
He wasn't even Biggie wasn't even rapping at the time. He was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
But she's full of shit.
Yeah.
Like, and she's too stupid to even think about what she's saying, right? Like, and that's the stuff that's been her the entire way. She's going to say whatever she can say to become more appealable because it's who she is. That's what she does. She's going to use whatever she can to get whatever power she can. And the scary thing is, once she gets that power, we're going to see the same shit she did when she was a DA, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's going to go hard in one direction or the other.
Yeah.
And that's who she is. And it's, if you're far left and that's the team she's playing for, sure, you're going to love it. If you're center and right, your life just got even more miserable.
Yeah. So this is the ad. I'll play it. It's the ad that Dave McCormick, who's running against Bob Casey, put out with. It starts with Bob Casey praising Kamala Harris, and then it ties her to all the stuff that she's done, and then him to it.
Okay.
Kamala Harris is inspiring and very capable. The more people get to know her, they're going to be particularly impressed by her ability.
Nonpartisan GovTrack has rated you as the most liberal senator.
I am prepared to get rid of the filibuster to pass a Green New Deal. There's no question I'm in favor of banning frack.
Would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes,
What is the solution for voters in the fossil fuel industry?
giving the workers an ability to transition. We're not going to treat people who are undocumented cross borders criminals. That's correct.
Raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross a border without documentation.
She raised her hand.
A position you agree with?
We need to probably think about starting from scratch. Outdated, it is wrong-headed thinking to think that the only way you're going to get communities to be safe is to put more police officers on the street.
But you support changing the dietary guidelines.
Yes.
The food pyramid. What would people
Yes,
to reduce red meat specifically?
yes.
People who are convicted in prison, like the Boston Marathon bombers, on death row, people who are convicted of sexual assault, they should be able to vote.
I think we should have that conversation. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program.
So for people out there who like their insurance, well, they don't get to keep it.
Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on. I am opposed to any policy that would deny any human being public health, period.
The more people get to know her, they're going to be particularly impressed by her ability.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris.
Sorry. Yeah, so it's a crazy good commercial, and you're gonna see
A lot of that.
every GOP senator running is going to tie their opponent to almost the exact same ad. It's
Yeah.
going to be nationwide. That was viewed by like 1.5 million people in the first 24 hours it was out online.
I mean, her track record of being,
It's horrible.
yeah. But listen, I mean, this is what happens. This, I shouldn't say it's what happens. It's what's happened to the left. They have hooked their card up to the pony of the far left movement. They've hitched their horses to that
Mhm.
that cart, if you will.
Yeah.
And the far left movement really came in and hijacked the Democrat Party, and it is because Bernie Sanders, he was their champion, he was their candidate. And when they did the super delegate BS, and they cut Bernie out of the mix, you saw it with Hillary. They were making deals with these far left. Well, when Trump won, the far left came out and they said, let's get Bernie again. Well, they weren't going to do that again, right? So they went again and made deals with the far left. That's
Mhm.
why Joe had to put him in there in positions in his cabinet. And it was the best that you could have if you're the far left, right? You have
Yeah.
an empty vessel that you're going to fill up with all sorts of ideas and thoughts, and they hijacked the Democrat Party.
Mhm.
They really did. That's why AOC was right off the bat saying, well, I'm not going to come out. There's a lot of people who aren't going to support Kamala Harris from the left. Well, yeah, Kamala Harris isn't an empty vessel that can be filled up. She's got her own thoughts and ideas, equally as bad as anybody on the far left. The thing with Kamala Harris, she's a sociopath.
Yeah.
We had already talked about it. She got where she is because she's a box of rocks that a potato came in, right? That's where I don't, hey, you know it as well as I do.
No,
Put it out
listen.
there.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
We don't have to. It's already been put out there.
Right. Put it out there. Everybody should know that. She's got the nicknames for a reason. She's not good at her job. She's the fucking border czar. And what has she done on the border? She wants to make it legal for somebody to come across the border. Then why the fuck do I need a border czar for?
Mhm.
If we don't have a border, why do you even have a job?
Mhm.
Why are you saying anything if you don't want to call that a crime? If you want to just erase federal crimes, if you want to get rid of portions of our Constitution because you feel like it's a good idea, well, then what the hell do we even need a border for? What the hell do we even need ICE for? What the hell do we need immigration for? Come on, one and all. We're not America anymore if Kamala gets her way. We're just open for business, and anybody who's going to pay her the money that she wants
Mhm.
is going to get what they want. And honestly, that's what's taking place right now in Washington for about 2/3 of our entire Congress and our entire Senate. 2/3 are sold. They're for sale. They've been bought and paid for. And Kamala is absolutely the pinnacle of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Just going back to the whole Black Lives Matters doesn't want her. They want a jungle primary, if you will, where it's just it's just a rapid primary, right?
Mhm.
I'm not sure the actual where the actual term comes from. I think it's just that you keep eliminating people as it goes, right?
Right. Yep.
And then it goes that way because the jungle primary is like what they do in California, where it's just the top two getters,
Right.
the
And they
top
go to a
two
runoff.
people go to a runoff, so it doesn't have to be opposite parties.
Right.
So it's something like that. I don't understand how that works with the Democrats picking a nominee, but that's
Mhm.
that's what they want. They want people to be able to vote because Kamala Harris is now the nominee without getting a single vote,
Right. And
and it's pissing people off.
on top of that, like you said, it's the biggest campaign violation that we've ever seen. She's just taking Joe's $92 million.
Yeah, so they're saying that she is authorized on the other one because she was the running mate, but that's not settled, right? Like she's just taking the money, and everybody's talking about how she's setting these records. Well, let's not forget what pushed him out.
Right.
They stopped giving money.
Right.
Everyone stopped. They were running out of money.
Right.
So, yes, she set records because they gave back everything for the last 5 weeks. When was
Right.
the debate? 5 weeks ago?
Yep.
So everything that they would have given in 5 weeks, they gave in 24 hours.
Right. So it just seemed like it was
Yes,
massive.
it looked massive. It's still a crazy amount of money.
Yeah, for sure. It's 5 weeks worth
Mhm.
of big donations that came in, and they had to restart and catch her back up because
Yeah,
they didn't
for
think
sure.
she was going to get the 92 million that
Well, they
Joe
didn't.
already
They just
had.
didn't know how it was going to work, and I don't think people really want. You can't. You're so handicapped by the time limit.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 3 months, essentially 100 days. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
a little over 100 days until the election. You can't wait to see what happens with that. You just have to go. So the people that are dead set on her being in, they're going to give a ton of money that they would have given over the course of 2 years
Right.
to
Right.
whatever candidate they wanted.
Right. They would have built her up slowly, right? I mean, it's not
Right. Yeah.
it's
You
not all
can't.
needed at once.
Yeah. So I think where there should probably be fine on the campaign money is because they're using the same people, the same field offices. Like all of that's the same. It's just a different vice president and president, right? Like one person's the same. You had to get, and because it hasn't happened, and I'm sure there isn't really rules for it, that
Well,
they're
according
just gonna.
to the motion that Trump filed today with the FEC, um, it wasn't Harris for president, it was Biden for president. And those campaigns, the campaign funds need to go back. You need to reset the campaign funds and start from scratch. She can't adopt that because the slogan was Biden for president, not Harris for president.
Sure, and that makes sense. I just don't think it's.
It's
I mean,
not going to be solved.
as
Yeah,
well,
it won't be solved.
and it'll be a fine, like big deal. It'll be like
Yep.
$100,000 fine when you're talking about a $91 million war chest. So
Certainly not
what's
gonna.
the
There's
problem?
not gonna be a legal team standing by to arrest her, to charge her, to indict her, to take a bunch of bullshit through a grand jury. Not that's certainly not going to be what happened to Trump, right? I mean,
Well, it didn't happen.
she's
to
going to
Hillary
get away
either.
with it. Of course, it was a fine for Hillary.
Yeah.
Just like you said, it was $100,000 fine. Which
Mhm.
okay, I'll pay it, and I'll keep
After
the fun.
she'd spent millions of dollars on the dossier, she didn't care
Right.
about the fine.
Right.
It was
And-
probably even built in.
That's just. I mean, it's disgusting, but that's where we're at, right? I mean, I to have Kamala to have a Kamala Trump, like you would think that Trump is just absolutely going to monkey stop Kamala. But there's a lot of built-in traps and errors in this whole situation. And it makes me happy that Black Lives Matter is coming out and standing their ground and saying, no, absolutely not. You put more black people in prison and joked about it
Mhm.
and made fun of it, on weed offenses for third strikes, going to
Yeah.
prison for the rest of your life for having a bag of weed. Are you
Yeah.
fucking kidding me? You're going to go to prison because it's your third strike for the rest of your life for having a bag of weed. And your stupid ass is on some fucking talk show talking about smoking weed and listening to Biggie in college, and it's all a lie. Like, that's who you have. If you're Black Lives Matter, you hate this woman. And she is the personification of the systemic racism that does exist in this country. And I hate when conservatives are like, there is no systemic situation of racism in this country. There absolutely is.
There is.
It was
It's easy.
designed, it was controlled, it's been manipulated, and it's been perpetuated against the black people by the left, not the right. It's
Mhm.
by the left. The party
Yeah.
of slavery, Democrats. The party of Jim Crow, Democrats. The party of more black and brown people in prison, Democrats. The party of fighting desegregation, Democrats. The party of the KKK, Democrats. The party of, I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. It's never been the conservatives. It's never been the Republicans. It's always been the Democrats. And I'm so glad that Black Lives Matter. They deserve it. They deserve a candidate that isn't going to be part of the system that is racially oppressing them. And if you're a Republican, for fuck's sakes, wake up and start admitting that, yes, you are guilty too, because you have let that system sit there and you've not gone to fight against it because you did not see the quality or the value in the vote of the black community like Trump has, who is going out. And now we see the black community saying, I'm going to vote for a felon. They're wearing shirts that Donald Trump's my boy. He's a felon. Now, I mean, who was it? I can't remember who the rapper was that just came out and said this, but Trump's a felon and he's been shot at. Oh yeah, he's in the hood. That's what the rapper said.
Mhm.
He's a hood president for sure, right?
Mhm.
So this is the things that, like, I'm glad Black Lives Matter. They deserve a candidate that that separates him from that. Kamala isn't it. It should not just be given to Kamala. It should go to somewhere else and let the chips fall where they may, whoever it is. I mean, Trump may not win this election, right? Certainly it needs to be a better candidate. There has to be a better candidate on the left, even if they're unknown, to put up that could lead our country better than that box of rocks, right? It has nothing to do with anything other than how she's gotten here, what she's done to get here, who she's been along the way. That's what it has to do with, and how she's just for sale. She's just for sale, just like Joe Biden. So if your Black Lives Matter, you should be raising a stink. You absolutely should be. This is not
Yeah.
your candidate. You know what I mean?
Well, and just
This
go ahead. Sorry.
This is the Kool-Aid head wear, Kool-Aid hair wearing kid, the multiple facial piercings, the kids that are going to rallies and covering up the face, the kids that are rioting or whatever on Capitol Hill right now because Bibi Netanyahu's there. It's their candidate. It's not yours if you're Black Lives Matter. That is not your candidate. Sadly for you, though you don't want it to be, Trump is more your candidate than Kamala.
Yeah.
Trump will do more for your community. Trump will do more for your situation than Kamala ever will. Yes, he's going to be law and order, which means if you're one of the Black Lives Matter people that is on this group because you think crime is okay and you shouldn't have to be, prosecuted for crime, Trump's not your guy.
Yeah.
Kamala put you in prison for it for weed offenses. She's definitely not your guy.
Well,
She's not
she
your candidate.
withheld evidence from somebody that was on death row
Yeah.
until the courts made her release that evidence to the defense. I was just looking up the poll. I know you don't like polls. However, this one is just approval rating for Kamala Harris. Ended yesterday. Approval rating is 37.8%.
No, that's atrocious.
51.4% disapprove. 13.6 spread.
Yeah, I just don't know what they're gonna
I
do.
don't understand and that's coming from 538 ABC News.
Yeah, like I said, I think you're starting to see a civil war take place within the Democrat
I think
Party.
so too.
And they're not happy. So you're going to see a bunch of people say it shouldn't be Kamala, and they're going to hope to go to the primary and somehow Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris out of the primary and put somebody else in. And then you have the Warhawks that are like, no. She's bought and paid for already. We need to keep her here.
Yeah.
And they're going to throw a ton of money at her. Hollywood and a bunch of people are going to come out and represent her because she is the DEI requirement, right? She fits. And they're going to put Buttigieg on that ticket, and they're going to try to ride that train all the way to victory. And it's a failure because you can't pick. I mean, Hillary Clinton is equally as bad as Kamala Harris in this position. You're just getting the DEI version of Hillary by putting Kamala up. That's what you're getting.
Yeah. Yeah. So one more poll for you. The Real Clear polling. So it's the average of all the major polls for Trump and Harris. Trump is up 1.7. Two of the polls have Trump up +6. Two of them have Harris up +2, and two of them are tied. Otherwise, Trump leads all the other ones.
Of course. And those polls that are having close have to be far left.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, they're all far left. All right. We're back again.
Polls.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to talk about these polls. We just need to pay for Zoom, I think. All right. So the Real Clear polling, so the average of all of them. They like NPR was Trump +1. Like even the super liberal places they can't. CBS News +3 for Trump. Forbes had +6 for Trump. Emerson +6 for Trump. CNN had +3 for Trump. Like it's just, I mean, ABC, Washington Post had +2 for Harris. Reuters had +2 for Harris. Yahoo and Reuters, where Reuters on here twice. So they had one that was tied, and they had one that was +2. So,
Yeah.
Oh, they were different dates. Okay. So the first one was from 7/15, 7/16, and then the one with Harris +2 was 7/22 and 7/23. Now, what I will say is that Harris will get a little bit of a bump regardless because Joe was that bad. However, once they get out there, she gets out there and starts like, how god awful have her first couple speeches been? Just so disingenuous, or that's not the right word.
Scripted, so without
Well,
emotion, so freaking
just so
dripping with
they're cringe.
yeah,
like-
dripping with freaking
They're not sincere at all.
no, that's what it is. They're dripping with fakeness is what it is. I mean, it's just even that video I played with her, where she flubbed and was talking about the recording where she just says, we love Joe and Jill, don't we? We love, and I mean, she's just, this is the same chick. What this Kamala was saying? Oh, I can't remember what it was. Like something about the past and the present or whatever. Like,
Yeah, unburden yourself from the past.
yeah,
That whole thing.
like
Dude,
I mean,
we'll
how
have
many?
to do one. We'll do
how
one
many
with just
times-
crazy shit she said. The
I mean-
Venn diagrams, the school bus, the-
Oh yeah,
I
mean,
mean, time, the
she's-
passage of time.
she is grade A fucking stupid, right? I mean, this is
Yeah,
when you're dumb and you try to sound smart.
that's what
Even-
you get.
Even dumb people pick up on it.
Mhm.
Right? I mean, they're like, hey man, like I'm no rocket scientist, right? I'm just a guy who went and did some stuff in the military that came back and went to school for law enforcement and landed where I may, right? But even people like me look at Kamala and we're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like that makes no sense,
Mhm.
right? You don't have to be, I mean, you'd have to be an MIT grad to decipher some of the shit she says to be able to pull anything worth value out of anything she says.
Honestly, no MIT grad is going to try to decipher it because it's going to make them feel dumber by the
Well,
end.
It's I don't know, man. Like it's shocking.
Yeah.
As the Democrats, like this is the best you could do. This is it.
Mhm.
This is
Mhm.
I get it. You were bought and paid for. You're worried that you couldn't transfer the campaign funds to some unknown candidate or someone who's not already on the ticket underneath Joe. So you were worried about funding. You were worried about money and having enough apparatus in place to go on to fight Trump. That's what you were worried about.
Mhm.
Understand it. I see it. However, you thought this was your best possibility that you were going to roll with. This was going to be, a, like this is it, right? This is, I don't know. It blows my mind. I'm getting text messages right now. Somebody just sent me this. It's got to be fake, but breaking news. According to a new CBS polling, Kamala Harris has opened up a 62-37 lead on Trump among young voters. Yeah, okay.
That's fake because
of
we
course
just
it's
saw
fake.
one yesterday that was independent voters age 15 to 20, like 5 or 6. Trump was up 15 points.
This has voters 18 to 29. She's 62% favorite
No.
over Trump's 37. Black voters 76% to 21. Even though you have Black Lives Matter calling for
When
her
did
not to
that?
be the-
Who was that? Not
This is-
who sent you? Who did the poll?
This is CBS.
Okay, let me try to find it.
Yeah, according to CBS. Yeah, it's not. It's fake.
Well, listen, it may not be fake, but it may be geared to be fake. You know what I mean? Like
Right. It's not
it's
true.
not- it's if it's a
information.
national thing, we only called people in California.
No, listen, and here's the thing that this is why I don't believe in polls, right? If it's MSNBC, CNN, ABC, BBC, CBS, NBC, Reuters, if it's the Washington Post, the New York Times, if it's Axios, I mean, if it's any of these places that are putting out polls and they have Trump in the lead, they're trying to do what Hillary tried to do to Trump in the first go around, right? It's voter suppression. They don't want us to turn out as conservatives. They want us to think that, oh man, Trump has it in the bag. We don't have to go vote. If it's the other way around and they're trying to say that Kamala's in the lead, they're trying to say, oh, you know what, Trump, you're going to lose anyway to all your Trump supporters. You're going to lose anyway. There's no point in you coming out to vote. That's what these polls are meant to do. They're suppression polls. And if they're put out by any of those news outlets, I just don't believe them simply because none of their other reporting is real. Why the fuck would a poll be?
Well, okay, so I just did a Google search for CBS polls, and
Yeah.
the latest one that they have was just polling Democrats about the nominee. So I don't think that's a real thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's just made up by somebody who.
I mean, I can't believe CBS wouldn't have that out here. I can see the 6 days ago they had a poll out. Trump's national lead over Biden grows. Like I don't know. It would be out already if
This is the battle we're gonna have in this
Yep.
election cycle is
Yep.
real versus fake and all the stuff
Mhm.
that's out there, and people are putting shit out there right now. And
Well, people are
again,
putting shit online because people know that nobody trusts the media anymore. So that's where they're getting it. They're getting it off of X. And if you look official or you've said something in the past that's true, you can put out whatever you want, and someone's gonna until it's proven wrong.
right.
People are gonna go with it.
And I mean, it's an official looking poll. I mean,
Mhm.
it's I shouldn't say official looking poll. It looks like it would be on a newscast. Here, I'll send it to you. The writing on the bottom is what tipped me off right off the bat that it's not real. But
Oh yeah.
I mean, once you get it, you'll be like, okay, yeah, this is fake. But this people are getting this and they're seeing it and they're believing it,
Mhm.
right? And this is some of this disingenuous bullshit. Like, even if it's some random person making this poll, they're still trying to do this. They're still trying to have some sort of impact. And like you said,
Yeah, this is fake.
they don't believe, of course, you can see the writing underneath and you're like, okay, this is not real. Nobody would do that kind of a
Like the only thing that might be accurate on it is the women voter thing.
the only thing that might be accurate on this is the pictures.
Mm,
That's it.
yeah, maybe.
I think everything else is all garbage. But yeah, I mean, but
Well, Trump's
again,
always had a problem with the women voters, though,
yeah,
for
yes.
good or bad or worth reasoned or not. It just he
And
has.
if that grab him by the pussy comment was never out there, I
Dude, did
think
you
that would
see
not.
the lady in the red behind him? That video
No.
at the convention? You haven't seen that meme?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I'm gonna send it to you. But it said there's some lady like that grabbed her crotch right behind him at the convention with the
Oh,
camera
no.
on him, right? And
Oh, no.
it said after an assassination attempt, Trump's so cool, the pussies are grabbing themselves. Like I can't believe you
Yes.
haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it. I have
Oh
not.
man, like you feel so bad for it because she's clearly like trying to adjust her dress, like so that
Yeah.
she's not showing the entire world her
Yeah.
goods. But it's like, oh man.
That's funny. That is hilarious. Yeah. I don't know. I don't trust any of these polls, like I said, just because
No, and
it's
you've
coming.
always been like that though, from not even recently.
No,
You've always been like that.
but this goes all the way back because like I said before, Trump was not my guy in 2016. It was Ben Carson.
Yeah.
And the polls in the primaries were like putting Trump ahead of everybody in the primaries. And I thought there was much better candidates that have way more support. I mean, you had guys like Jeb Bush who have the Bush dynasty, and I'm not a fan of Jeb Bush. That guy is a rat. He's uniparty. He's bought and paid for. I'm not a fan of those, the who's the former New Jersey, Chris
Chris
Christie.
Christie.
He's a fucking slob. I'm not, in support of him.
Well,
But
he New Jersey politics all the way from that bridge gate or the whatever
yeah,
where they shut
he's
down the
corrupt.
bridge.
He's
Yes.
corrupt. I mean, he is as
Yeah.
corrupt as he fits perfectly in Washington, though, and that's why.
Well, that's why I want to keep him out.
When they boosted Trump's numbers and he was polling way higher than everybody else in the primaries, and I was kind of like, how is this possible? There's no way he's polling higher than Ted Cruz or Ben Carson but he did. He was
Mhm.
polling higher, and then you find out that Hillary wants to run against him, and then as soon as he's running against Hillary, his poll numbers are terrible. He had
Yeah.
all this support for the primaries, and it's the same people that are going to vote for him in the general,
Mhm.
and he's not even close to Hillary. It was like 10 points, 12 points down, and then he pulls out the win, and then I'm like, okay, polls are worthless. They mean nothing.
Well, the only one that was accurate for the first election was the Trafalgar Group, and then they were real wrong on the second one.
Did they have Trump winning?
Yeah, but not even by just a little bit. it
By a
was
lot?
like, oh yeah,
Well,
it was.
I remember.
It was like landslide level.
I do remember this, and I remember they've predicted almost every election correctly, right? And that was used as part of the reason why people thought that there was cheating.
Mhm.
And I remember this, and obviously you can't use a poll to determine if there's election interference or fraud, but the amount
Right.
of stuff that has gone on that now that we've seen where, the Dominion voting software in that uh local race where it switched the votes 3,000 votes in favor of somebody else.
Sure.
I mean that who's to say that didn't happen to Trump?
Nope. And I'm not. I just think that they had him so far ahead that
They tried to suppress the vote, that kind
well,
of thing.
yeah. Well, no, maybe not even that. It was just like there was no amount of cheating that could happen for that poll to be, you know what I mean? Like for that poll to be that wrong,
Right.
to blame it on cheating would have to be just substantial amounts of evidence everywhere.
Well,
Now, I'm not saying there's none. We've talked about this. There wasn't
still
none. We don't know how much, and we never will.
we're never going to get to the bottom of it. I just
However,
don't know how
they
Joe
had
Biden comes out with 84 million votes and Trump had 72. You're telling me that Trump had more votes than Obama, the most popular president on the left in the history of the Democrat Party. I mean, he's the darling of the left.
What was the percentage of people voting for? What the percentage of eligible voters voting last time? I mean, that's what you got to look at. If that's, I mean, elections, there's turnout. Everything's about turnout, right? So that's
Sure,
why
but
that's why they had to push Joe Biden out for this one, because down ballot races were going to get stomped if Joe Biden, because there was not going to be any enthusiasm. They talk about the enthusiasm gap. I just think that I'm not, like I've said from day one, it's never none. Like I have a story when I went to vote. I think I've told you this. I don't think I've told it on the pod. I went to vote one of my first elections to vote in.
Mhm.
We signed our name. Everybody's name was printed out in the book, and you'd sign next to your name, and you get your ballot and go. Someone had signed on my line. I said, well, I didn't vote. And they said, oh, that's okay. Just sign the line below you.
yeah, that's about right.
Like,
That's a Minnesota election for you.
not saying that there was anything, maybe someone just fucking couldn't follow the line all the way across the page. I'm not saying that there was anybody that voted that shouldn't have voted.
It probably
My
wasn't
line was signed.
nefarious,
Yes.
but they shouldn't
But
have
there
told you
isn't-
to sign somewhere else.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And that's, well, I mean, obviously that's exactly what it was. The person ahead of you or
Yes.
the line above you just signed, or the line below you signed above, whatever.
Mhm.
And they probably have seen that so much they're like, I just signed the line below. They don't care as long
For
as
sure.
everybody's right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's not nefarious, but it's not supposed to be that way either.
It should be
But-
addressed.
But what you did have in this election was Trump had 12 million more votes than Obama did, and Biden had 30 million more votes than Obama did. How? That's not even possible. And then on top of it, there was a massive amount of Republicans that voted for Democrat, but then voted Republican down ballot.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't
Well,
happen.
it
Not at a rate that'll give Biden 30 million votes.
well, I don't think it was just Republicans that got him the extra 30 million votes or whatever. But I do think that there was a lot of Republicans that didn't want to vote for Trump again. And they were hoping that based on Biden's historical record, that he wouldn't be as far you know what I mean? Like nothing about it said that he was going to be that progressive. So they were just hoping for someone in the meantime to get rid of Trump, the never Trumpers. However, I think that what we can look it up this week before our next one. We should just look up the percentage of actual voters and do it. Maybe we do it by state. It's what percentage came out to vote that was eligible to vote, and where that lines up with the normal election year.
I'm going to take a guess right off the bat right now.
Yeah.
And I'm betting we're not going to be able to find that information. I'm betting it's going to be so off the board, like all over the place by design.
You won't be able to find them all together. They will not have that.
No, I don't even think you're going to be able to do it by state. I think you'd have to petition the state to get their voter records because I thought we looked at this one time in that place that we sit sometimes together.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we looked at it and we were like, you can't even find this information. You can't even get to it because you have to like do a FOIA request to actually get it.
Was that what it was? Or wasn't that a Chicago Teachers Union thing?
Well, we did it for both. We were looking at both things because we were trying to figure out this is recently. This isn't more than maybe
Yeah, well, I mean, we just started this 2 months ago.
no, I'm talking about before I went on when I left for to go to my kids' softball stuff.
Oh,
We were talking about this up in that place
yeah.
that shall not be named.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking for it and I couldn't find anything because remember we were trying to figure out if my deceased father voted and
Oh,
you can't find anything.
yeah. That stuff. But I think like the actual like percentages are out there. Like individual stuff, that doesn't shock me that you'd need a FOIA because they don't want people's information out. But uh as far as like overall numbers, maybe we can find that.
I
We'll
hope.
look, we'll look,
I-
we'll look. If not, let's do FOIAs. 50 of them.
Boy, that would be something, huh?
Let's just do it. It's not like we don't have the ability to. Right.
Right. We
So
have time.
we got time.
Well, that's a big first step for FOIAs.
Man,
FOIA
we're
every
gonna be
state.
we're gonna be
We wanna
targeted
know-
hard now.
We want to know your election results.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a nice to have, a nice to know. I want to know, but I mean, right there alone, you'd be able to prove some sort of interference or bullshit, some shenanigans, and that's why I don't think we're ever gonna get there. I I don't think like if you go on Google and you look, it's gonna be just like the shit you look for like death numbers of Russians. You're gonna get 35 different stories that have 35 different numbers, and you're gonna be like, well, what fucking number's real? You're gonna have to go straight to the state.
We'll go to the state. We'll do it. We've got people that are interested in doing stuff for us.
Yeah, let's power them. Let's empower them to get it done. Let's see what happens.
We'll just do it and then we can compile it and we can put that shit out there. Like, listen, if you can't find it anywhere, we can put it out there. We'll put it on X. We'll just put a document up. I know that the one precinct in Wisconsin had over 100% vote.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, I think what
So part of
honestly, if there was voter fraud, we know that it would be in the mail-in balloting. We know that the ballot harvesting was there, right? We know that the nursing home thing was real. We know that
right.
people were harvesting ballots and doing whatever. Do I think that would be enough to give 30 million votes? Probably not. But now that we know that the Dominion software can flip votes, if there's some sort of candidate that you have set up in your algorithm that you like, and this is the person you want, and somehow they said it couldn't be done, right? That's what they said with the Trump Biden election is it's not possible. The machine wouldn't do that. Well, now we know that it can. If it can, and we have that huge disparity, I can't say one way or the other that yeah it was rigged or no it wasn't, but I also can't say yeah it was fair. You know what I mean? And just looking at how the uniparty operates and how people are bought and paid for, and how disgusting, the vast majority of these people are that are in the uniparty, that would lead me believe that they didn't want the guy that they're now trying to convict so he can't run again. That just left wide open with an assassination attempt out there when you apparently have credible information of the Iranians trying to assassinate this guy, and you leave a building at 140 yards outside your perimeter. You give him 3 people on his protective detail. One's a DEI hire that can't pass the frickin', stress fire portion of their training, and you waiver her through. You refuse them any additional bodies from the Secret Service and claim you have resource problems. You fill them with HSI people who literally are standing there going, I don't know what the fuck am I supposed to do?
Yeah, they're not trained for it.
You put law enforcement in places, don't even attend meetings to tell the law enforcement personnel where the hell they're supposed to be. You don't care, and there's an Iranian threat out there. I mean, all of these things have happened to this guy from the beginning of coming down the escalator all the way up till right now where we're at. That would be enough evidence for me to believe that there is the potential that this software exists that we now know flips votes in a local election. We have proof of that, right? That's a fact. That's not conspiracy. That's a fact. Uh, that actually happened this year. So when they say no, it didn't, and nobody wants to take a look at it, and it's the swamp covering down for the swamp and the uniparty covering down for the uniparty and the Washington elite and the establishment, my first thought is, yeah, it's completely plausible and completely possible that the 30 million votes for Biden that he has over Obama, of all people, the slyest, smoothest cat on the block. I mean, say what you want about Obama's policies, and I did not like Obama's policies. He was a pretty damn cool president until he got on that bike. I'm gonna say it. Till he got on that bike, bro. Like
Yeah.
that's when I was like, okay, dude, I wasn't pulling for you. I don't agree with your policies, but you're fun to listen to, and you're actually a sarcastic smartass, and you're pretty funny. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Right. But to think that Biden got 30 million more votes than that guy, it's just not even possible.
Yeah, but I think you're missing.
No, I see what you're saying. I see there's
No,
more
no, no.
turnout.
Just clicked into my head as you were talking. Remember, it was the pandemic, and they made getting ballots by mail super easy.
Yep.
You literally just had to go and click a button, and you got one. So I think it's plausible that a lot more people voted because they didn't have to do anything. It came to their house, they signed it, they sent it back. I think you could have had the more voting simply that way. And there were states that I believe, I'll have to double check this, but I'm pretty sure there were states that were just sending them out. So you're talking about something that it literally takes no time for you to vote. Maybe they did.
Maybe.
So like as far as like getting more votes, that's how they got more people there, which is how they got more votes. Now, I'm not discrediting anything because we've seen that Dominion thing.
Mhm.
It happened. It overturned a result in a primary. So you can't say, well, that it's not zero, right?
Right.
But as far as getting the 50 million more votes or whatever between the two of them, like that's simply just because of the time, the pandemic, and making it so easy for everyone to get a ballot that more people voted that wouldn't waste their time with it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I agree. There's the potential for those votes coming out. It's like 35 million votes between Obama and Biden.
Mm-hmm. You still have to get that many more though. And that's where I'm at. Like not even looking at the difference between the two.
I just don't believe it. And the reason why I don't believe it is he was in his basement. He didn't campaign. He came out sparingly. He looked terrible in debates.
Yeah, but that's your thoughts on it, dude. Like
I understand.
People felt that way. Like yep. People were doing the same thing. They were terrified of COVID. They had done it. So that didn't bother anyone then. They realized that wasn't going to work this time.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not going to work this time because there's nothing keeping that fear in place. But mail-in balloting is staying, so those same people will still vote.
Not everywhere.
Well, I think we'll have to look that up too. I'm pretty sure that it was just allowed. So where did we just see this? Was it the Supreme Court?
I think it was in Wisconsin. Yeah, it was just one state.
Oh, it might have been
other states. Yeah, it's around here. I think it was Wisconsin. Other states have come out and said like the drop boxes, that's illegal. Like there's been a bunch of changes that have happened that they had to use the courts to do it.
Yeah, but that was all we talked about this before. That was all in conservative states that did all that anyway. So
it was in a state that Trump lost. Like it wasn't just conservative states, it was states that he lost.
We'll have to look that up. Even with all that, and even with the mail-in balloting, I'm still not there yet. I'm still not. I just don't think you can.
Well,
I think you're picking up where you are picking up numbers of people that are voting that probably didn't go and vote in person are in nursing homes where there's a bunch of people.
You have that. We've talked about that,
and that for sure we have evidence of where the nursing staff was voting for the individuals and mailing it in. You're picking up votes there, and you're right. There's people that are scared that weren't coming out of their house. But if there's people that were scared and they weren't coming out of their house, I don't know that. I don't know. We're never gonna have an answer to it because nobody wanted to pick it up and look at it. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I refuse. I steadfast refuse to believe. I don't believe it. I don't believe you can make up that number. That's a giant number.
Yeah, I understand, but they still also have to have relatively close to that number of ballots available, right? Like I'm just talking the overall number of people voting. It was a huge amount.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it was the huge amount. Now, as far as who got what vote and whatever, the difference between the two candidates, that's a whole nother issue. But that
Right.
was a huge percentage of turnout. And that's simply just because it was so easy.
Because of the pandemic.
I think
Yeah,
Washington and California just mailed out the ballots. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't even, you didn't even have to request them.
you
Well, that's
didn't,
a
and they
huge
just
number
did.
of people that are like, I'm not wasting my time, but it'd take me 10 seconds. I can do that. You know what I'm
you,
saying?
You might be right. I mean, absolutely.
Just the number. Yeah.
I just don't. I mean, I don't believe that Biden gets that
No,
vote.
listen, I'm with you. I don't understand how that happens. However, I'm
You're
just talking about the overall number.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm looking at those states where they just like it showed up on your doorstep.
Yeah, it was just there. People didn't even know.
Didn't you request it? That
Mhm.
just
And they
what's
weren't
this? It's
little
in my mail.
states. It wasn't like Utah doing it. It was California.
And if memory serves, a lot of those, a lot like a
You
lot
could
of those
vote
states-
twice
Yes,
because
you
they
could vote twice,
they
and a
didn't
lot of
know
those
who-
states.
turned them in.
And then hey, maybe that is how you get there. Maybe that's how you get.
Yeah.
You fill one out and you send it in, and then you go and vote in person.
Right.
There's two
Because if you
votes.
send them to everyone, how do you know who got a mail-in ballot to check to see if it went in?
Yeah. That's the only way. I mean, I could see that happening where I just there's no way.
But
Like,
that's where you got to look at the percentage. That's where you got to get to see
each state,
the
you have to
number.
see
Yeah, each
everybody's
state, what their voter turnout was, and then what that is compared to the legal number or the
Mhm.
well, I guess the
What-
people
what they're
over the age of
regis-
majority that can vote.
registered.
Well, I think
guess.
both. I think you want to look at registered voters, and I think you want to look at everyone that's of the age, because a lot of these places now you can register the same day.
But that would still be on record, right? So like if
Now
they
it would be.
registered,
Yeah, now it
if
would be.
looking back at it, we'd be able to see that. We wouldn't have been able to
Correct.
see it at the time.
Right.
So we would be able to see or not.
So you'd be able to see it with the voter registration for now versus the voter registration the day
then.
before last 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yep.
'Cause
You'd have
that
to-
number will
the
be
disparity between the two.
But then
and
it
then on-
also has the disparity of anybody that's registered after that.
Yeah, that's true. Anybody who, because how the fuck are you going to figure that out?
Well,
It's
you'd
an
have to
invariable.
get the only way you could do it is to get the voter registration from like the week of the election after, so like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And that's
Is it-
it.
Is that even a record we can get?
The voter registration should
Yeah.
be able to.
So get that, but then also with the state laws, a lot of those states when they sent out that it went against what they were even
That's why a lot of them had to win in court
right.
because it was against the Constitution. And that's where you see like the ballot boxes that aren't allowed. And you saw some states adjusted it and they passed the laws for it. But the states that had the multi or what's that called? The split houses.
Mhm.
So it wasn't just one side.
Yep, yep,
They
yep.
had to go to court and then just not pass anything. So court said, no, that's unconstitutional. You can't do that based on these laws. But then they're also that split, so they can't get anything passed.
I would imagine if we would have thought a little bit outside the box, there's probably 1,000 people who have already done this. We just need to find their results.
Yeah. Well, like what we're talking about, like with you, with the whole Russian numbers, like it's just going to be all over the place. It's going to be very hard unless someone lays it out. It's going to be very hard to do.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest here. We're not filling out 50 FOIAs. We could
No.
look at maybe the 10 swing states and do that.
Let's be honest, we're not even doing the 10 swing
Yeah, probably not.
states.
I said we could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. It's a lot of work.
But it's just like what Sean Ryan said, that video I played the other day where he was
Mhm.
pissed off because he had that Taliban guy or that
Afghan guy.
Afghan rebel fighter who's fighting the Taliban, and he's pissed off that the U.S. government's giving him $90 million a week given to the Taliban $90 million a week.
Yeah.
And now the Taliban's empowering all these terrorist organizations to start training for the next attack on the West. And, Sean Ryan's pissed off because he started a petition to have the funding stopped to the Taliban. And the content that he put out there was viewed 7 million times, and he got 36 or 60 something thousand votes. It was like less than 1% of his total views.
Yeah.
Signed the petition. And that's kind of what it's like here. Like,
Yeah, but
know,
we also looked into that, and there was a $2 fee or whatever.
well, they wanted you to donate to the cause to fight against it, right?
So people are going to just click off. Yes,
it turned me off. I'm not gonna freaking
for sure. You needed $14 million for this to petition this. Like, come on,
right? I'm not gonna do that either. But in that regard, that's kind of like what we're saying here. Like, it's a bit, and it's not just you or I. It's kind of countrywide. This is why it's so easy to get multiple statistics for, certain things. If that makes sense. And then you just find whichever one best matches what your belief is, and then that's your truth at that point.
For sure. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't know. I do know that Kamala Harris is not the answer, and I don't want it.
No, and I'm really surprised that that's the answer. Like, I mean, it was backdoor deals, right? So it was California they met online and they said, no, well, how many delegates is that? That's a lot. And so a lot of these super delegates, like, so I don't know. I don't really get it, but they did it, and they did it without a lot of the major people endorsing her until after she had locked up the delegates. So I don't know how that happened, but it did. And this is why BLM's pissed, because it was backroom doors. She didn't get a single vote in the primary. They didn't open up for an open convention or even a discussion. They didn't even give it time for people to put in. Like, no one else even said, hey, I'm doing it. Manchin talked about it. And then he saw the writing on the wall. He's not going to do it. He was going to join the Democratic Party again and put his hat in the ring. Simply so that they had to have an open convention. But then it was locked up.
Yeah. I mean, it's corruption, right? I mean, this is what they do. And it's disgusting, but this has been the play for, I don't know, as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And unfortunately, it's the two-party system that we've talked about over and over and over again. And when you're a two-party system, it's easy to have a uniparty, right? So the controlling interest lets you get away with whatever. Like you brought up before, I mean, it's the two conventions that control the FEC, that control,
Yeah, it's the everything is everything's run by them, right? The Democrats and the Republicans, the uniparty, basically. They control the debates. The debate commission's run by them. All this stuff. So why you won't see RFK on the debate stage? Not because they just changed the rules. He met the debate rules for CNN's debate, and they changed them. Actually, I don't even think they changed them. They just said no.
Well, I think we pretty much nailed this.
Yeah, sorry. I was just checking to see. I got to work an overtime shift tomorrow. I was just waiting for it to get canceled again. So
all right, well,
I don't know. I don't know what all happens and how this plays out, because I don't think it's over yet.
I think
not until they start to vote.
I think you're right. I think there's a chance that they mutiny Kamala, because I just don't think
if you get more of those progressive groups together, and they start throwing a fit, even though she's progressive,
but
they start throwing a fit, and I don't know if they can afford it. If you disenfranchise all those groups and they keep their voting block home, you're screwed down ballot.
Yep. And I think you're right. I think that's like we've talked about this over and over. I think you're about to see a civil war within their party and
I d-
not a
don't even-
shooting war, obviously. Like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about a war with whatever they can get away with funds and
Mhm.
battling
A
back
split,
and forth.
essentially a split.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. And this may be, hey, maybe
It
this
could
is
be
the
what
third party.
causes a split.
This could be a third
Well, I
party.
think if you see this one split, you see the GOP split, and it'll be 4 parties.
that'd be crazy.
It'd be better.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you'd have like a Trump MAGA type party, then you'd have RFK take the center left.
A Warhawk party.
Yeah, well, let's not hope that I don't think RFK would ever be part of the Warhawk party.
No, I meant
Warhawk.
another one, like RFK with the center left.
Yes.
And a Warhawk party.
A DEI party.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Democrat Party could split into 4 different parties on its own.
Well, so could the Republicans.
Yep. I think
you have just conservatives. You could have fiscal conservatives. You could have libertarians that finally like do something.
Right. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. And this next election is I'll give it to Joe Biden. It's the most important election of our lives because we'll eventually talk in the next episodes about our the way of our way of life is going down. It's not easy living anymore in this country. So and that's I blame their administration for a portion of that. But when we cover all that, we'll have to talk about Trump's part of it too, because
he played a role in it. He
played a role, and we'll go from that standpoint. But that's coming up in the next. We'll do that one. That's going to be an interesting one because we have some interesting things to bring out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for another one. Pat, give your spiel.
Check us out: Facebook, Instagram, X. We're on Truth. Our website, bluecollartakes.com. We got a YouTube channel. So check it out. Like, share, spread the word.
Yeah. Anywhere you can push this to get this out to other people would be greatly appreciated. Like we said, we didn't get into this because we're trying to profit from it. We got into it to make a voice, and it's kind of that 10, 10, and 10 rule, right? If you get this out to 10 people and they get it out to 10 people, and then pretty soon, if we all do that, we have something that we can have that's influential. So please spread the word and get us out there, and we'll keep doing what we're doing. And again, if anybody's got story ideas that I like when they send us stuff, because it gives us kind of more of an idea of what to look at. So if you have story ideas, you can get a hold of us on any of those, or if you're one of the folks that knows us, you can get a hold of us in person. Keep pushing ideas to us because it's kind of fun. I think it's more fun that way to have an assignment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Kinda
for
like
sure. Rather
like
than trying to come up with stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, and we do have some cool things in the works. We have some interviews. One that's just gonna blow everybody's mind, and once we can nail that down with him, that's gonna be awesome. And
that'll be cool.
Yeah, we got some cool things coming. So just stay tuned and help spread the word, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, right on. Thank you.
All right, everybody, you take care, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.